Hey everybody, and welcome to today's live stream. Today is October 15th, 2018. Shout out to Bobby and Zach joining me in the chat already today. We're going to cover three news stories primarily. Might go a little longer depending on how things go. First on the docket today is the story about Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson breaking up. A little over a month after the death of Mac Miller, who used to date Ariana Grande. We're also going to look at some numerology involving the Connors, which is the replacement series for Roseanne that's going to start on ABC this week. And we're also going to take a look at a hostage situation at a McDonald's that went down in Cologne, Germany. Now, if you watched my videos from this weekend, you may have seen me decode the San Ysidro McDonald's massacre from 1984, which was a ritual in tribute to the death of Ray Kroc, who bought McDonald's from the McDonald family and turned it into a corporation back in 1955. And just like that ritual, once again, McDonald's in the news by the numbers with another false flag attack at one of their restaurants. So to start this off, a real quick summary of what I cover on this channel. This is the ancient occulted language of Gematria that you're looking at. And on the screen is the four base ciphers. To a lot of people, numerology seems like an overly complex, maybe even crazy thing to study. But I assure you, when you take these most logical base ciphers, you see the two ordinal methods on the top of the screen, both forwards and backwards, each letter numbered 1 through 26 relative to its position in the alphabet. And then the two reduction methods use the rules of numerology to reduce each double-digit number to a single digit. This is also called Pythagorean Gematria, and it also works with the reverse method as well. I think primarily we just use the alphabetic order in reduction. These two reverse methods are complementary. A couple other of the major ciphers I teach on my channel, English Extended and Jewish, ciphers that are both based on Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsephy. You'll see the difference between Jewish and English is just the more modern English characters placed at the end. And that's because this cipher here is based on the ancient Latin alphabet, which is very similar to English, has most of the same letters, and as you will find, is also very significant to the study. All right, so let's kick this off. We had a story about Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson splitting up. And, of course, some of the talk in this article is about Mac Miller, who Ariana Grande used to date prior to, well, actually earlier this year they were still dating. I think in May they split it off, and then in September we got news of his death. Ariana Grande was born in the year 93. The name Ariana Grande equals 93, using the standard alphabetic order. Even when you add the word singer in front of her name, occupation gematria, sometimes significant, you get a 93 in reduction. The name Miller equals 93, Mac Miller, her ex-boyfriend. So I saw this news story today and just wanted to double-check a couple things on Mac Miller, and I noticed there's a cross-country skier named Mac Miller. And for some reason I didn't pick up on this before, but I kind of wish I did, because it would have really solidified the numerology of what we're looking at. If you happen to be new to this work, what I'm exposing is that most of our news on the mainstream, and this is all the companies on the mainstream, it's not limited to CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, virtually all of these outlets that are giving us news and are supposed to be trusted, they're all giving us news by the numbers. A lot of this is fake bullshit news, and it's all here to have some sort of mind control effect on people. Whether there's subconscious programming going on through the numbers is up for debate. However, these stories are constructed by the numbers, and this is all in tribute to the ancient language of Gematria, a practice of the Kabbalah. And Ariana Grande is a practitioner of the Kabbalah. This article tells us how she converted to the Kabbalah because the Catholic Church didn't accept her brother as gay. So you can read about that if you wish. Mac Miller, also, this rapper, he was in a feud with Drake because Drake claimed to be the best Jew rapper in the game. And this ancient Kabbalah practice is based in ancient Jewish mysticism. So more often than not, the people taking part of this have roots to Judaism. And we'll talk about how Roseanne, who grew up Jewish, is also participating in fake news. So there's this guy named Mac Miller with a K. He's a cross-country skier. And the first thing that stuck out about the Gematria of cross-country skier is how it relates to Mac Miller. When you type out cross-country skier in Gematria, sorry, I got my microphone cord on my keyboard. All right. So you get this value of 1,980 in full English Gematria. Now, because we're studying numerology, the 0 is ignored. So this reflects a 198. And what's wild about this is not only does Mac Miller equal 198, but his real name was Malcolm James McCormick, which equals 1,098. Numbers found in cross-country skier. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. The name Miller has matching gematria in all four base methods with the word skiing, 69, 33, that 93, and of course a 39. Looking again at the gematria of Mac Miller, we saw the value in Jewish gematria, the 198. I consider this cipher to be more just as significant as ordinal and reduction. Well, in the alphabetic order, Mac Miller equals 86. And think about the term 86 when you're offing somebody, you're 86ing them. Both blood sacrifice and human sacrifice have a gematria value of the number 86. When Mac Miller passed away, the skier Mac Miller, the one with the K, was 86 years old. Now, if you instead type in the gematria of Mac Miller with a K, you get the number 97. And this number had a lot to do with the death of Mac Miller as well. In fact, Mac Miller the skier, notice how his first name is Andrew. Andrew equals 97 in the reverse order. If you measure from the birthdays of Mac Miller the skier to Mac Miller the rapper, you find it's a span of 97 days. 97, a number coded into these Kabbalistic death rituals. The word death equals 97 in the reverse alphabetic order. And do you remember the date that Mac Miller died? Well, that would be September 7th, written 9/7. His ex, Ariana Grande Butera, which is her full name, notice how she has this number, 907, like the date 97, September 7th. Most parts of the world write this date as 7/9, the 7th of September. And in reduction, not only does her name have this value, but Mac Miller, his full name, Malcolm James McCormick, also 79, just like the date he died. You got to remind me, too, Ariana Grande Butera equals 160. This is another huge number in one of these stories today, so we'll be sure to revisit that. But back to 97. When Mac Miller was 9,007 days old, he released an album called The Divine Feminine. Now, in Jewish gematria, Divine Feminine has this value of 911. And believe it or not, this is related to the 9/11 attacks back in 2001. Not going to get too into that here. But with this value of 911, when you add the artist name to the album cover, you get a value of 1109, the reflection of 911. This 911-119 sequence always stamped into stories about women because of this gematria. Now, in Jewish gematria, feminism equals 219. And I find it interesting that the skier, Andrew Markley Miller, that's his full name, his nickname Mac, as you see right there. Andrew Markley Miller equals 219. And I don't know if I mentioned this early on, but check out Mac Miller's birthday, the skier, October 15th. Guys, that's today. So think about this. Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson, news of their engagement ending surfacing today. And it's on the birthday of the skier, Mac Miller. Here, this might be the real kicker with this, with the skier, and to cement this connection. The name Andrew Markley Miller. Notice how it has gematria in both of these extended ciphers. The same two primary extended ciphers I teach in every single one of my videos. It has this rare trait of being the same in both, 1,740. This is very, very uncommon. A little more common with longer phrases, but you get the same value here. And look how old the skier Mac Miller was when the rapper Mac Miller died. 31,740 days. You have a 1740 sequence, just like 1740 in this guy's name. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just incredible how well this is lined up. So I am going to try and drop in on the chat here while I'm doing this stream. I do remember something about Bodie Miller losing a baby. That's interesting. I wonder if this is somehow related through this Olympian ritual. I do have to make a downloadable version for the calculator. That's not that hard for me to do, so stay on me about that. As far as how to use gematria in real life, I guess we're getting there, right? I mean, practicing this in my own life is not really something I do, but on the other hand, I find that these numbers kind of find their own synchronicities around me as I live my life. So, you know, it's up to you to decide exactly what we're all decoding here. So another thing worth mentioning is that Mac Miller died 38 days before the skier's birthday. 38, the number of death, murder, and killing. RIP, all 38 in the base 4 methods. And the word rapper, also 38 in reduction. I also found it interesting that the name Andrew Miller, Mac Miller's real name, the skier, sums to 134 and 190 in the ordinal methods. Just like the phrase cross-country, 190, 134. And then this ties in to the replacement boyfriend for Ariana Grande. Pete Davidson equals 134 and 190. And Mac Miller, measuring from his death to the date of his own birthday, the next year was 134 days. When you read up on the skier Mac Miller, you find out he was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. So check this out. Pete Davidson, 1,068. Look at the gematria of Salt Lake City, Utah. It's also 1,068. So if you're wondering why Pete Davidson was part of this whole ritual, it's because of his numbers. And it seems to be a huge tribute to this cross-country skier who wasn't even very good. Like, he didn't win a medal or anything. He just competed twice in the Winter Olympics for the United States. I almost put this in organic matrix when I started decoding it. It's like, why would they even do this? But to me, it's pretty clear what's going on. We're just reading a numeric ritual. Also interesting that Salt Lake City equals 138. Just like cross-country skier, you get a 1380 in the Jewish method. And then I also noticed this one last sync here for this story that I found to be pretty interesting. We talked about the 138 cross-country skier and Salt Lake City. Well, if you measure from the death of Mac Miller to the skier Mac Miller's 88th birthday, both Malcolm James McCormick and cross-country skiing have Gematria of 88. It would be 1 year and 38 days, or 13 months and 8 days. File it in the coincidence bucket if you wish. I just find that this numeric ritual is too perfect to be coincidence. Yeah, I don't know if they're really going to go after Pete Davidson. It seems like, I'm sure these people who are acting in these things know about what's happening. Yeah, Zach's pointing out the news broke yesterday, and it did. It broke last night, as far as I know. And yeah, I find that, especially when a news breaks late, it's like either one or both dates are especially significant. Maybe you'd agree with me on that. Let's see. We mentioned how Mac Miller died 38 days before the skier's birthday. Rapper equals 38. Death equals 38. Again, this language of gematria coming from the Kabbalah, which sums to 38. Well, including the end date, the news broke 38 days after Mac Miller's death. Today, also 38 days without the end date. So the next story we're going to look at has to do with Roseanne. Now, Roseanne put out this controversial tweet back in May, and what I'm trying to expose is that her tweet was completely intentional. She knew the firestorm it was going to set off, and it was all part of a giant numeric ritual. This class of people that's ruling the country, they're following a Judeo-Masonic agenda, of which Roseanne seems to be participating in. And if you look up Roseanne's history, you find, she grew up in a Jewish family. She was recently on the Joe Rogan show, kind of as an attempt to explain away her tweet and what it really meant. And it seemed logical, like you were kind of on her side, but she just kept mentioning how, she identifies as a Jew, and that's her, she's tribal in that sense, and that's great. But then she made this really bizarre distinction. She said that these Muslims and Arab terrorists are targeting Jews. They're out there killing Jews. And Joe Rogan was like, what do you mean they're killing Jews? And she says, oh, that attack on Bataclan, they kill all the Jews in that theater. And even Joe Rogan was like, wait a minute, what? Like, that was not like an attack on Jewish people. That was just a terrorist attack. But you see, they just love to play the victim all the time, always blaming others and talking about how people are out after them. So my point is that there's some other agenda with her going on. Like, she's trying to push something. And ultimately, it's division among the public. And again, here's another news story where you can take one side of the story, you can take Roseanne's side and make a logical argument, say the tweet wasn't intended to be racist. Or you can look at the other side and say, why would she say that if she didn't have any racial tendencies? And no matter what side you take, because it has to do with racism, there's this built-in animosity that you normally wouldn't have. And it causes a lot of problems with people. I've seen it on Facebook. A lot of people unfriending each other lately because they don't agree on issues in the news, issues that are being manufactured. Anyway, I'm going to start with the gematria of the headline because, of course, the news loves this language. They code them out accordingly. This headline sums to 2111 in the Jewish cipher. 2111, a fairly significant number. It's a prime number. 2111 is the 318th prime number. And in Frank Bacon's gematria, which uses capital letters, the name of her character, Roseanne Connor, equals 318. This method mixes in capital letters with small letters 1 through 52, again based on the alphabetic order. The name Roseanne equals 311 in Jewish Gematria. Her birthday, the 3rd of November, written 3/11. This number was coded into the English Gematria of the headline. So again, both extended methods being observed by the media. The first episode of Roseanne from earlier this year was, what is this measurement? From May 20th of last year. Okay. So when Roseanne first aired in the 90s, the show ended on May 20th, 1997. And if you measure from that date to the date that the first episode aired this year of its revival, it was 311 days. So Roseanne 311, bringing your show back to life 311 days after the anniversary of its ending. The number 311 is also a prime number. It's the 64th prime number. The Connors debuting tomorrow night, 10 plus 16 plus 20 plus 18 equals 64. So think about the date that Roseanne made her tweet. That tweet that she made about Valerie Jarrett was made on the night of May 29th, the date written 5/29. And Roseanne was still technically playing a character. Roseanne Connor equals 529 in Jewish Gematria. In the English method, it sums to 619. The Connors makes its debut 6 months and 19 days after Roseanne made its return to television back in March. The date that the Connors will debut has numerology of 37, 44, and 46. The name Roseanne in our 3 most basic reduction methods, full, single, and reverse, sums to all of these numbers, 37, 44, and 46. And you gotta love that this is the center of the news in 2018. Both the name Connor in Jewish Gematria equals 28 or 218. And then Roseanne Connor sums to 218 in reverse. And I can't believe it. It's 160. Guys, this is crazy. You're going to love this next story. The Connors will be debuting on October 16th. This is the date written 10/16. 10/16 is an upside down 9/11. This date is always significant for that reason. So once again, this brings us back to the Divine Feminine 911. Roseanne's full name, Roseanne Sherry Barr, also has a gematria of 119, again, the inverse of 911. And then the last number we'll look at for this decode is this 187. Again, this language of the Kabbalah, Gematria, all rooted in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible written in Hebrew. The Torah is made up of 187 chapters. And this number is still significant to the secret societies of this day. Ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry sums to 187 in reduction. It's a branch of the Society of Jesus, which sums to 187 in reverse. So Roseanne Sherry Barr, who is a practicing Jew, has this 187 in her ordinal gematria. And what this cipher is, it's the same as this Jewish cipher. It's the same order. However, it's dropped down to an ordinal base. So just like how we have English ordinal and English extended, these 2 Jewish methods are related in the same exact way. But this 187 number is significant for another reason. It's one of the only numbers, and maybe the only number, that has the same digits in its prime factorization and its prime relationship. So 187, it's not a prime number. It's 11 times 17. And then you go to the number 1117, and it's the 187th prime number. So there's really no other number like this. I guess you can make an argument the number 21, because it's 7 times 3, and 73 is the 21st prime. Maybe that's a significant number too. And that just brings us to Saturn. Saturn equals 21 and 73 in the Kabbalah. Saturn represents El, the ancient Hebrew deity, so it is related to what we're discussing. But if you measure from the end of Roseanne's last episode back in the 90s to the date that the Connors debuts, it's exactly 1,117 weeks. So everything's so perfectly crafted. These numbers are never ignored by these people. And it's my belief that this understanding of Gematria comes from the knowledge that we, as people, our lives are all coded by the numbers. We're in this organic matrix, so to speak. And this is why they pay tribute to it. It's their form of worship. And they also use it as mockery because most of the people who are reading this news, watching these rituals play out, have no real knowledge about the numerology that's being played underneath it. So think about this. I just covered 2 stories, and I didn't even realize how numerically related they were. Just going to glance through the chat here before I jump into this last story and really blow your guys' minds. So yeah, I mean, if you look up Roseanne, lots of Masonic symbolism around that. She's taken part in the whole charade. It's probably part of the reason she became one of the first big-time famous female comedians. All right. So, we talked about 2 stories. Ariana Grande Butera, whose name sums to 160 in the alphabetic order. We talked about Roseanne, was it Connor, that sums to 160, alphabetic order. Today's numerology, I call this tiny numerology. October 15th, 18, you add all these digits together, they sum to the number 16. So now we're talking about a story that takes place in Germany. Germany equals 106 in the reverse alphabetic order. And this is about a hostage situation at a train station. Train station equals 160. Here is the mayor of Cologne, Germany, where the hostage situation took place. As I've exposed on this channel repetitively, all of these false flags are in alignment to the dates that local politicians took office. So whenever you see something go down, one of the first things you should be doing is going to Wikipedia, finding out who the mayor of that city is, or sometimes more significantly, who the governor of that state is here in the United States. We've also found a lot of significance in presidents and prime ministers. We're also going to glance at Angela Merkel. So here we're looking at Henriette Recker, mayor of Cologne, Germany. I probably got her name wrong. Who cares? She took office on November 20th, 2015. So if you measure from November 20th, 2015 to today's hostage situation, you get exactly 1,060 days. What are the odds of this? Train station in Germany gets a hostage situation. She's been in office for 1,060 days on a date with 16 numerology. The same date that we're talking about Roseanne Connor and Ariana Grande Butera. So check out the 160th prime number, 941. This hostage situation took place at a McDonald's. Look at when McDonald's was established, May 15th, 1940. That means McDonald's is exactly 941 months old, the 160th prime number. So this is what happens. It's McDonald's. There's this corporation who does not have good intention. They add all sorts of shit to your food that is designed to slowly kill you. Understand? And this is something I've decoded before, you know, this McDonald's. In fact, like I said, just over the weekend, I talked about the San Ysidro McDonald's massacre. This all was another numeric ritual I guess, I mean, I wasn't alive back then, but it's possible nobody died. I mean, this was just another false flag attack. The founder of McDonald's was Ray Kroc. And Ray Kroc also died in 1984, the same year as the McDonald's massacre in California. That massacre occurred on the date July 18th, written 18/7. It happened in California, where 187 is the homicide code. And if you measure from the date that Ray Kroc died to the date of the San Ysidro McDonald's massacre, you find it's a span of 187 days. McDonald's headquarters even, Oak Brook, Illinois, 187, that's where they were headquartered at the time. So McDonald's is just another corporation that's taking part in this Kabbalistic numerology, mocking the public, giving them shitty food, trying to kill them. Really not so much killing them as giving them diseases so that these people funnel into the medical industry where they can be taken care of and treated for life. Not cured, but treated. And it's funny, you know, how many times have you gone to a doctor's office and asked that doctor, or how many times has that doctor asked you what your diet's like, you know? Have they ever asked you if you're feeling depressed or sad or whatever? The last thing that they're ever going to say is, well, what have you been eating lately? You know, they'll never do that. And that's the real secret. You eat well, you take good care of yourself, you'll be healthy for life. And it's not crazy to think that, you know, the medical industry, the fast food industry, they're all profiting from each other's deeds. So now this brings us to Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel, born July 17th. And it's funny, you know, Ariana Grande Butera also has this 119 Gematria. 119 factors to 7 times 17. Think about that. July 17th, the birthday of Angela Merkel. So if you measure from that date to the date of this hostage situation, it's exactly 91 days. The name Angela Dorothy Merkel equals 91 in reduction. But more importantly, this is 13 weeks after her birthday. In Germany, they celebrate their national holiday on the date written October 3rd, like 13. And it's been 13 days since their national day. So all these 13 alignments. Remember, we just had a false flag shooting exactly 13 weeks after Independence Day here in America. Of course, McDonald's, not only is the M the 13th letter, but when you turn their logo sideways, you kind of get this intentional 13. You know, you have a yellow line over the McDonald's. This marks the number 13. And think about their mascot. You know, if you think the 13 is a coincidence, their mascot, Ronald McDonald, equals 130, like the number 13. They even coded the number 13 into his Jewish gematria. 347. That's what you get when you write out 13, 347. So this is nothing but a whole bunch of 13s. And what do you know? McDonald's in the news by the number 13 once again. McDonald's, if you measure to the date that Ray Kroc turned them into a corporation back in April of 1955, you get about 3,313 weeks. And this 3313 is really one of the ultimate hoax codes. You know, we recently just had a bus crash in New Mexico, and the bus number was 1333. And that was another thing I exposed to be a complete numeric ritual by the numbers. Yeah, fast food does suck. You know, there's some fast food that tastes really, really good. And I won't lie, I still eat the shit probably, you know, once or twice a month. I think that's infrequently enough that it's probably not affecting my health. I can definitely do without it. All right, everybody. So that's your news by the numbers today. I'm sure there's a lot more to decode, but this is just what I was able to spit out earlier this morning. So, yeah, Taco Bell. That's the one, man. That's the best tasting of all those fast food places. You know, if I ever give in, it's going to be Taco Bell probably. They put, I don't know if they really put cocaine in Taco Bell Chigozi. God, that would be wild, hey? All right, everyone. I'm going to sign off. Thanks for jumping in on the chat, everyone. For everyone who's watching archived as well. Appreciate the viewership. Please spread the word. This stuff is undeniable. And the news, programming the masses, mass mind control by the numbers. This isn't the first time I've picked up on, the same numbers appearing over and over in the news. And what do you know? We uncovered it as we went. All right, folks, keep seeking and speaking that truth. God bless. Peace and love. Adios.